Well, it's a bit of a sad occasion now for Brian Draper, who's with me. It's the end of an era, Brian. This is you leaving after, what, 30 years?
Yes, perhaps a little bit longer if you take into account the fact that I started with the auxiliary fire service, which we had in those days, which was back in about 1979. I actually started auxiliary, and we had a Green Goddess, and we were based up at 88 Woodburn Road, Homefield, which is now where our headquarters are. So I've gone full circle. We drilled on a wooden drill tower in the grounds of Homefield. Shortly after that, we got a fire engine from Laxey Fire Station. And then in 1982, I was privileged to be taken on as a whole-time firefighter.
Did you always have a passion for doing this?
Yes, it was very simple for me. I mean, quite recently I've given chats to high schools about what people want to do as careers and how to position themselves to achieve those aims. But all along I've said it was quite simple for me because I always wanted to be a fireman in those days and a firefighter as we are nowadays.
Did you ever imagine you'd get to the top of this whole profession?
No, you may think this strange, but it was never a particularly burning ambition to become the chief fire officer. But when you're within an organisation and you want to change things or improve things or make them for the better, then perhaps the most positive way of doing that is by moving up the ladder, literally. And then you can make those changes and those improvements, and you can learn from different people as you've gone throughout your career and hopefully shape the organisation to what you think is the most efficient, most professional organisation it can be.
I suppose there's been many a big fire over your time, but any that stand out, or it doesn't have to be fire these days, it could be anything, any incident that stands out?
I think any of the incidents that have involved serious injury or death, I could probably remember each and every one of those for different circumstances. And certainly those that involve young people or children will stick with you for a very long time. Particularly as throughout my career, I'm a father to 4. So on many occasions I've got sons or daughters of a similar age to those that have been hurt or worse.
I've got some pictures of you for the Sloy Harvester moment. This is when you're taking off in a helicopter. You're being interviewed at the time. I mean, that must have been a very big operation, wasn't it?
It was. It was around, a very big decision was made by the Isle of Man government, which was to recover both the vessel and the sailors who lost their lives. And again, it was about making sure that was done in a dignified and professional way. And here in the Fire and Rescue Service, we had a rope rescue team who were well trained in recovery in difficult situations, what we would call confined space recovery. So as a group, we did an awful lot of work about learning the ins and outs of that vessel, literally deck by deck. We knew every part of that vessel, and we practiced how we would bring the young men to the surface. When I say to the surface, the recovery vessel was to bring the Solway Harvester to the surface, and then it would be pumped out. And as part of that pumping out operation would obviously be recovering the young men's bodies.
And of course that procedure, as far as the Solway Harvester goes, it's still sitting in Douglas, although about to be presumably looked at again this year to be finally disposed of. Yes,
it's sat here for some 13 years now, and I believe it is going to be taken out of harbour and disposed of.
What about, and I'm not sure really you can answer too much about this, but the times are harder for everybody. There's been cutbacks in all the services. Have you found this more challenging the last few years?
Absolutely. There's a lot of challenges coming our way, not just financial challenges, but we need to remember that we're quite an ageing population, in that the census will show that significantly higher numbers of people will live to 85 and beyond, or 65 and beyond. And statistically, we can demonstrate that those people are more prone to accidents and injuries in the home. You couple to that things like changes in social care policy, which may mean that less people become institutionalised, and for all the right reasons they're being encouraged to live at home and stay at home under a care at home type of scheme. But for us as a fire and rescue service, that actually places them at higher risk. So we need to do more work working with social services and health services to identify those people who may have mobility issues or disability issues, whether that be through mental health problems or, as I say, physical impairment that may prevent them from escaping from their home if there was a fire. So again, it comes back to not just educating them, but educating the visitors to their home, whether they're from government departments or from voluntary sections or people like Meals on Wheels and Help the Aged, and we're doing a lot of work in those areas to try and identify vulnerable people.